Welcome to the LDN Radio Show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elseygood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose Naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. AglessRx provides convenient and affordable access to longevity-related prescriptions and therapies, such as LDN, metformin, NAD+, an online platform with physicians licensed in all 50 states. They provide a free, quick online doctor consultation, write appropriate prescriptions, and ship medications direct to your door. Visit AglessRx.com to learn more. I'd like to welcome back my guest today, Dr. Sajad Zalzala. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me again.
Now, you've started a new business, AglessRx. Could you tell us all about that, please?
Sure. It's a first of its kind online clinic dedicated to help patients live longer and healthier. We launched it back in October of 2019. Originally, it was called Qualitude, but the name was a little nerdy. Mm-hmm. So we recently just changed that name to AglessRx. But our mission stays the same.
Okay. So how do you operate your business? I know you said it's online. Mm-hmm. Who are your target audience?
Yeah, so, for those who are not familiar with telemedicine, telemedicine is the idea of prescribing, for a physician to prescribe any kind of therapy, whether it be medication or whatnot, through a distance. So anything that's not involved in going to a physical clinic, it would be considered telemedicine. We're taking advantage of, recent changes in regulations that allow physicians to assess patients in a very streamlined way using kind of an online EMR like questionnaire type form that evaluates patients and prescribes medications that we feel are suitable. In our case, telemedicine's been around for a while. People in the States might be familiar with Teladoc. If you have like an ear infection or whatnot, or urinary tract infection, you can call Teladoc, talk to a doctor, and they'll get you an antibiotic or whatever for your treatment. But there's also been a lot of development in what's known as disease-specific telemedicine. We're looking at for example, erectile dysfunction or mental health or diabetes. There have been a lot of companies that have kind of cropped up for the last just a couple years, really dedicated to specific conditions. Our platform is unique in that we're targeting the aging process to help slow it down or even eventually reverse it. And the aging process, as a lot of people may or may not know, is the underlying cause of pretty much all chronic diseases in humans.
Mm-hmm. So how does it work?
Yeah, so currently what we offer is certain prescription therapies that have really good promising evidence behind them. We started out with metformin, and then we introduced an NAD iontophoresis patch that delivers a substance called NAD through the skin into the blood. And more recently, we added low-dose Naltrexone to that armament, so to speak. So the way it works is, somebody would come to our website, they look at the evidence, look at the science pages, and figure out which product they're interested in. We're working on a service to help patients decide on which one is best for them. For right now, it's like, let's say you've read about metformin and its benefits, or you've read about LDN and its benefits. then you come to our website and you request a prescription. There's an online questionnaire, and then reviewed by a physician. And if it's appropriate, then the physician generates a prescription, and it gets fulfilled at one of our member pharmacies, our partner pharmacies, and it ships directly to the patient's home.
Mm-hmm. Now, if the patient has medical conditions already, how does it work with telemedicine if you need to do to check somebody's blood pressure or do a blood test, etc.? How does that work?
Right. Right now we're focusing on things like metformin and LDN and NAD that don't really require any specific monitoring parameters. However, we are working on building out our system so that we can offer more advanced therapies, such as rapamycin, and also things like senolytics. Those will require a little bit more intensive monitoring and adjustments and things like that. In those cases, we know when we're ready to roll those out, we would arrange for somebody to go for specific testing, most likely blood tests, and then either decline the prescription if somebody, let's say, if somebody has a poor renal function, for example, then they can't, and they're not able to use certain medications, or we adjust the medication kind of based on that. We screen for. Part of the intake process is asking about certain medical conditions that would we ask for pretty much all medical conditions. We ask you, do you have any heart disease, cancer, etc., or anything else, and that's kind of part of our basic intake form. And like I said, it's reviewed. The intake form, the intake process is reviewed by a physician such as myself, and if we feel that there's any problem prescribing it, or if there's any potential issue prescribing it by telemedicine, we either ask additional questions, like we'll ask for a patient to submit their blood work to us, or we'll say, well, maybe you're just not appropriate for telemedicine prescription, and that does happen on occasion.
Okay, so really you're trying to have patients who are healthy now and want to remain healthy in the future. Is that right?
Well, healthy is a relative term. We, obviously things like metformin can help with cancer patients, for example, but we don't. We're not equipped to treat, cancer. We're not promoting any specific. We're not promoting the treatment of any specific disease. Mm-hmm. Rather, like I said, we're kind of helping to use therapies that'll delay the aging process, mm-hmm. and therefore delay or reduce the chance of somebody developing chronic diseases. Mm-hmm. But to answer your question, yeah, ideally it'd be it'd be a person who's health conscious. They want to do as much as they can. They're eating well. They're physically active. And they kind of want these extra layer of protections against becoming sick early, mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where the kind of ideally where patients would be at. But there are certainly patients who have various different chronic conditions already, and they just want to prevent more, or they want perhaps they're hoping that these therapies might reduce the symptoms of their current chronic conditions.
We have many members who are using LDN as mm-hmm. a preventative. They currently don't have any conditions. And I should mm-hmm. think you've seen that from your LDN Direct business, haven't you?
Yeah, well, to be honest, most people who come to me with LDN through LDN Direct are patients looking for treatment for specific diseases, mm-hmm. whether it's fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue, things like autoimmune conditions. However, I completely agree with you that the evidence just seems to be very strong that LDN is a potential therapy to help. Just given the amount of success I've had treating conditions and reducing symptoms with patients who are ill, there's no doubt in my mind that LDN can help prevent various different conditions. I mean, we do have data suggest it can reduce inflammation. It's being used to help treat cancer, and so there's no reason why it couldn't help potentially prevent cancer. I've had many patients tell me that they don't get sick as often with colds and flus and things like that when they're taking LDN. So that indicates to me that there's a enhancement effect on the immune system. And obviously, the older you get, the weaker the immune system gets, and so any kind of enhancement of the immune system as somebody gets older, it would definitely help in terms of longevity. And then, of course, there's the quality of life in terms of mental health, addiction, potentially preventing addiction issues and things like that. I mean, there just seems to be so many benefits to LDN because it's multiple actions on the body. And so that's why we decided to offer it as prevention.
Mm-hmm. And what states in the US do you ship to, or not ship to, have your... shall we start that bit again?
Yeah, sorry, my family.
That's fine.
Home a little bit. I told them I was starting an interview, but yeah, if you want to start that bit again.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
You were asking about the states.
Yeah. So where do patients come from? Are they throughout the US? Are you able to do telemed statewide?
Yeah, so we're live in we're live and able to ship prescriptions to all 50 states except for Alaska, but we're working on that. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, the patients from any of the 50 states or DC can request prescriptions through our service.
Now, what about other countries? Because some countries it's really difficult to get LDN, and in the past, even in England, we used to get our prescriptions from America. I mean, you're going back like 16 years. And then you weren't able to treat patients outside of the US. Is that still the case? Is it US only?
For now, yes, it's U.S. only. We're looking into expanding into other countries like Canada and Europe. That's definitely on our radar. It's just the regulations, in the U.S. is hard enough to juggle, difficult enough to juggle at the moment. Mm-hmm. But once our long-term plan is to start offering this to many more geographic areas.
Okay. So, what else can you tell us about LDN?
Yeah. So. So I mentioned to you, before this recording is we're looking to launch like an observational clinical trial on LDN, and I think by the time this recording airs, we should have it off. We hope to have it off the ground. The idea is that we'd be asking LDN users for their health status, their symptoms, how they're doing on LDN, and compare that to like a control group, and look for patterns to kind of. The idea is that, like I said, I mean, I feel that LDN is a great preventative therapy. I feel that I could, based on the research I've seen, based on what I've seen from patients and things like that, I feel that it can help in many different ways for the aging process. However, there's no large study. There's really no study for LDN as a prevention. And so the first step for studying that would be like I said, kind of an observational, asking patients who are on LDN, about their health status and things like that, and then comparing them to control groups, and looking for patterns, and through that way we can help launch additional studies where we can do specific studies looking at maybe various different dosings and things like that of LDN to try to tease out what LDN is best at in terms of preventing diseases. Mm-hmm. And like I said, and we're also planning to include LDN as part of a clinical trial. We were approved a few weeks ago for a clinical trial to study a drug called rapamycin, which goes by the name sirolimus. Rapamycin is a molecule that's isolated from a bacteria from an island called Easter Island, and it's been around for a couple decades now. And in mainstream medicine, it's being used to treat kidney transplant and other transplant patients, as well as very specific types of cancer. But there's been a lot of interest in it, even from the kind of day it was discovered about making animals live longer. So there've been a lot of some rat studies and things like that, and more recently some dog studies that have come out that shows that can help animals live longer. And we're hoping to expand that study to humans and look for various different markers that'll indicate that it is having an effect on the aging process. And then we also look to couple rapamycin and other combination therapies. So, for example, rapamycin plus metformin, and they kind of study that. Rapamycin plus, let's say, LDN, maybe LDN plus metformin, and kind of look to see which combinations of therapies work well to help slow down the aging process. Because I'm very skeptical that we'll ever find a single therapy or a single drug that will slow the aging process. It's too complicated of a condition. There are these what's called these 9 pathways, or these 9 hallmarks of aging, and there are some therapies like rapamycin that hit on several of them, or metformin also, kind of target a few of them, but there's no therapy out there, and I don't think we ever will be able to develop a single therapy that'll target all 9 hallmarks of aging. And so I think ultimately you'll need almost like a cocktail of therapies in order to target these hallmarks of aging, these pathways of aging. And I suspect LDN will have a role in that. But our plan is to kind of study that role and figure out where it would fit best and with what combination.
Mm-hmm. And when people contact you, is there a waiting list, or can they have a consultation quite quickly?
So the way if patients are looking for a consultation to discuss their prescription, then the LDN Direct would remain the best option. For patients who want to use LDN more for prevention, or if they have mild symptoms, AglessRx is probably a better option because it's a streamlined process. You go online, you complete a questionnaire, and like I said, it gets reviewed and approved. So it's really best for, like I said, the AglessRx right now is really best for patients who are using it more for prevention, or, like I said, mild symptoms. Mm-hmm. If there are people out there who have multiple symptoms like Lyme disease and mast cell disorder and things like that, those patients tend to have a hard time with LDN and need a little bit more consideration when it comes to prescribing, and they'd probably do best with the LDN Direct site.
Okay, so with AglessRx, people register, fill in all your forms, it's reviewed by a doctor, and if it's accepted by a doctor, can they at that point purchase or pay for the LDN, and then it's shipped to their door? How long does that process normally take for a new patient?
So through AglessRx, we have a subscription model, which seems to work really well for these types of medication. We have the metformin under subscription, the NAD is also subscription, and then, like I said, we've decided LDN is probably most effective through a prescription, subscription. And so patients would sign up for a subscription. It starts at, I believe, at $35 a month. And that includes everything. That includes the doctor's, prescription, the pharmacy dispensing, and the shipping. And usually that process takes 24 to 48 hours for the physician review. Takes another, a day or two for the pharmacy to ship that out. So it typically takes about a week or so, a week to 10 days by the time somebody submits, and until the time somebody receives their prescription. And that's a little bit different than the way LDN Direct works. LDN Direct works a little bit differently, where the consultation is only for the prescription and not for the medication itself. So it's a slightly different model of care. Like I said, it's meant for a slightly different audience. And like I said, if we have somebody through the AglessRx who we feel needs that extra attention in terms of the prescribing, then we would typically refer them to the LDN Direct service. The other major difference is that currently with AglessRx, we've kind of simplified the process in prescribing 4.5 milligrams. And again, that seems to be the dose that's best studied and most effective for a vast majority of people, vast majority of conditions. However, again, there are a lot of patients who have a hard time tolerating even the 4.5 milligram. And typically we try to look for that during the intake process. And when I do consultations for LDN Direct, I take a lot of things into consideration in terms of the starting dose. And we do that to some extent with AglessRx, but like I said, because of the subscription model we have, we're sticking to just the 4.5 milligrams. So like I said, if there's somebody who we feel that might have a problem with that 4.5, we refer them for a consultation at the LDN Direct service.
Well, thank you very much. It's been amazing, and we wish you every success.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again.
AglessRx provides convenient and affordable access to longevity-related prescriptions and therapies, such as LDN, metformin, NAD+, an online platform with physicians licensed in all 50 states. They provide a free, quick online doctor consultation, write appropriate prescriptions, and ship medications direct to your door. Visit AglessRx.com to learn more. Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.